Since antiquity, landscape painting has held a revered place in Chinese art, embodying the literati scholar's ideal of being one with nature in a spiritual, transcendental state. The landscape painting, as an art form, reached maturity during the Northern Song dynasty and continued to develop over the next 1,000 years. Following the 1911 revolution and establishment of the Republic of China, Chinese intellectuals began to critically reassess traditional culture and values. Change was seen as both inevitable and necessary. Changes made to art were part of this broader process of modernization and cultural renewal. Many artists sought to modernize Chinese landscape painting. For example, Huang Pinghong was the first to break away from the stylistic conventions that had dominated since the time of Dong Jichang and successfully renewed the genre in the 1950s. After Huang, many Chinese artists who were contemporaries of Chen Wen Hsi pursued the path of change, including Li Keran and Lu Yanshao in the 1980s. In the 1980s, Chen Wen Hsi executed many groundbreaking large-format landscape works inspired by the Taroko landscapes in Taiwan. The large format that Chen Wen Hsi adopted might have been inspired by the monumental landscape tradition of the Northern Song dynasty, such as this canonical work by Fan Kuan. Taroko, located in the east of Taiwan, is a mountainous region with a deep gorge. There are roots which cut through the middle of the rocks, forming special horizontal windows along the cliffs and sides of the gorge. Based on the titles of Chen Wen Hsi's other published works in the same period, and the distinctive horizontal openings featured in this painting, we can deduce that the landscape here references Taroko. Memories of Taroko is perhaps one of the most innovative paintings stemming from this body of work. Traditionally, Chinese landscape paintings always show from a perspective that includes the sky. But here, Chen Wen Hsi boldly eliminates the sky and the outlines of mountains and rocks, an unprecedented move in the history of Chinese painting. In traditional landscape paintings, the volume of rocks and mountains were represented by contrasting areas of shadows and highlights. Chen Wen Hsi abandons the traditional three-dimensional format, opting instead for a deliberately flattened perspective. Finally, Chen Wen Hsi organizes the pictorial space into modular segments and places them in a cubist arrangement. He employs a slant center line to preserve the reference to the gorge. This center line guides the viewer's gaze along the path, adhering to a bottom-up composition of traditional Chinese landscape. The use of color here is also groundbreaking. Choosing malachite green, a traditional color typically applied in a restrictive manner with azurite blue. He applies it using a spray method instead of a brush. Though the color scheme is traditional, the painting appears strikingly fresh and contemporary, reflecting the spirit of the modern age. Despite these radical innovations, Chen Wen Hsi was able to preserve the atmosphere of the literati landscape tradition, thus preserving the linkage with the 1,000-year-old Chinese landscape painting. This attribute is important because beyond a certain point, a painting would have become just a landscape executed on rice paper without the soul of Chinese spirituality. In doing so, he cemented his place as one of the most avant-garde figures in the world of Chinese ink, arguably surpassing many of his Chinese contemporaries in advancing the modernization of Chinese landscape painting during the 1980s.